Hello everyone, my name is Gerald. Everyone here calls me Jay, one of the consultant engineers for ITarian, and I would like to welcome everyone back to ITarian's technical webinar. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who have joined us today. We definitely appreciate your time, we appreciate your effort, the effort that you're putting in into learning more about the platform. And before we get started, this webinar should take around 60 minutes. First half would be me answering questions that came from the registration of all of the attendees. The second half would be a live Q&A, which will be conducted by Ezekiel. Now, should you have any questions, there is a question box on the GoToWebinar app. If there are questions that we are not able to answer, a representative will contact you so that we can schedule a one-on-one live demo with one of our consultant engineers. So with that out of the way, let's get started. Now, first question that I have right here is something simple. Can we see a report of each client? Maybe he's referring to the individual customer entities, like how it looks in the start dashboard. Well, yes, we do have that, and just so happens that it is located on the actual dashboard itself. So right now we are looking at the ITarian dashboard. It serves as your bird's eye view for the whole platform. Now, when you log in, it will show you updates regarding all the customers that you have within the platform. Now, I'm referring to the MSP version. Of course, if you're on the enterprise version, it will be for just one company. Now, on the upper left, you'll see the drop-down menu that says customer. It says all. You'll just need to select the company or the customer entity that you would like to get the updates and reports for. It's very straightforward, very simple. Now, the next couple of questions are pretty much related to each other. Will we be able to add license again from the portal? And the other question, how do we properly license the AV? So that's regarding the Advanced Endpoint Protection System. Now, for that, we will need to go to the Endpoint Manager. That's a very good question right there. Now, that's where the license management comes in. Now, this is a relatively new feature that was added, if I'm not mistaken, about a couple of months ago. So with license management, you can click on the license management section, and here you can add new licenses. So of course, if you have purchased a license, you will have a license key that you will need to enter, and once added, it will show to your existing licenses. Now, going to the next question, how do you properly license the AV, or how do you properly allocate a license to your devices, basically? Now, that's very simple. All you'll need to do is to select the license that you would like to allocate to your devices, and with that you can click on details. So it will show you different information regarding the license, including the validity of the license, until when is it valid. It will show you the exact expiration date, and you have three tabs on top, including customers. Now, this is how you assign the licenses to the different devices under the different companies or different customer entities. You'll just need to select the company, and basically you will see unused seats for this company, and you can basically specify the number of devices that you would like to allocate a license for. All right, now we can go to the next questions. Now the next question here, how to automate any procedure or script if a monitor triggers. Example, CPU usage trigger at 95%. How can I automate a script or a procedure? Now this is related to the next couple of questions. How do I create a monitor that sees if a device is online or offline? Will you provide a ransomware alert? Which are all basically referring to the monitoring capabilities within ITarian. Now, the monitoring capabilities that we have within this platform are all proactive monitors, or what we call event-driven monitors. Now, for that, you need to go to configuration templates. So first, let me answer the two questions. How do I create a monitor that sees if a device is online? And if it isn't, generate a ticket. Now, luckily for all the monitors that you can set, they are by default able to create tickets on the service desk, which is within the same platform. So first, you go to the monitor section. So to answer that question regarding device online or device status monitor, you can basically just create a monitor. So for this one, let's name it let's do that and create. Now first, you'll need to go to conditions. Now for device status specifically, it is already available by just clicking on add condition, and you have a lot of different conditions that you can set from here, including performance, file size, and of course, to answer the question, you have device status. Now the device status monitor, you can monitor if, or you can get notified if a device is either offline or online, whichever condition you want to be notified about. So in this case, the question is, how do you create a monitor that sees if a device is online, and if it isn't, create or generate a ticket. So we're basically looking for a device that's offline. Now you can specify for how long, because of course there would be instances wherein devices are just restarted in the moment that they go offline. If you don't have any parameter or any condition for the length of time, it can generate false tickets for you. So you can generate specific time period, whether be it minutes or hours. The maximum here, by the way, is 24 hours. All right. So let's say right there. Once I create this and save the actual monitor, it's just going to be a matter of assigning that monitor on a profile and then assigning that profile onto your devices, which we may be able to go a bit more in depth later once as we answer all of these questions. So that's how you create a device status monitor. And yes, once that is applied onto your devices, it automatically will generate tickets for you. Okay, the other question, will you be able to provide any ransomware alerts? The answer to that is yes. Now let's click on edit on the same monitor that we created. By the way, you can have multiple conditions on a single monitor for a lot of different things, by the way. So for this one, we can click on add condition. And specifically, we have security events. So for example, if you just want a ransomware alert, if a ransomware is detected, you have malware detected as a basic parameter. or malware handled. If you want to create a monitor or a condition for malwares and ransomware that has already been resolved by the advanced endpoint protection system. And two other uh, the two other parameters here are for unknown applications. Basically, unknown applications or unknown files are files that have not been verdicted yet. Files that are neither whitelisted, so we don't know if it's a good file, and at the same time not blacklisted. We don't know if it's a malicious file. So here you can set a condition to monitor applications, unknown applications running inside our containment system, or a monitor for unknown application once the application or once the file has already gotten a new rating. And that's through our file verdicting system called Valkyrie. You also have advanced parameter settings right here, like new devices blocked by device control, number of firewall actions, threat handled by virus scope, which is our behavioral analysis system. Basically, these are files that are doing malicious actions on an endpoint. So yeah, those are the different parameters and those are the different conditions that you can set. And once we've created this monitor right here and clicked on save, and once you apply this to your devices, you'll be able to get notified via email regarding the condition that has been met by any of your devices, and also generate tickets for you automatically. Now, to answer the other question, how do you automate a procedure or run script if a monitor triggers, for example, CPU usage? That is actually quite simple. Now, let's have a much simpler, much more straightforward example. Let me create another monitor. Let's say device status monitor. Okay, let's create that. Now for this monitor, let's say the procedure that you want to run is just a simple reboot. You want to monitor if a device has been online, let's say for more than 24 hours, and you want to make sure that all of those devices that have been online for more than 24 hours are rebooted. You can set a condition, device status, so device online period is 24 hours, and I can click on create and then click on save. And once that's done, I can go to the general section. Now under the general section, once you click on edit, at the very bottom you have auto remediation on alert, which basically is a way to automate procedures to run on the devices once that device meets that condition that you've set. So here you have run below procedure, and from here on out it's just a matter of specifying the procedure that you want to apply onto the monitor. So let's click on save. Now we already have the monitor set and the procedure is already set on that monitor to automatically run. All you'll need to do is just to go to the profile section and assign this monitor onto a profile, which leads to the next question: how to set up a profile. Actually, this is specifically asking how to set up profile with Komodo Endpoint Security. Now, that's a pretty broad question right there. I can definitely share a few best practices, but of course, we always suggest to also schedule a demo with one of our consultant engineers. We have an awesome team here ready to assist. Now, So let's say we have a profile right here for Windows. Here's a good one, cloned Windows security profile. Now all you'll need to do for the monitor is to, again, go to the profile and go to the monitors section and click on add monitor. And from here, you'll just need to specify the monitor that you want to apply. Click on OK. And that's pretty much it. Now, this profile you can set onto your devices either on a group level or on individual devices if you would need to. So it's a very flexible, very granular system. Now we have a question here, how to create custom scripts. Can I create them for my for any MSI? If I have remote users, where is the install source stored? That's another very good question right there. Now, I think this is referring to deployment of different MSIs, like MSI for the printer drivers, for example, or an MSI for a new application that they want to deploy and install onto their devices. Now, there are several ways of doing this. One of the simplest ways of doing this is by going to the device list, and from here you can select whatever devices you want to deploy the MSI to. And if you click on install or update packages, you have install custom MSI / packages. This is, by the way, compatible to MSI, MST, and executable installers. Now, from here, you will need to specify the actual storage source for the MSI that you want to deploy to your devices, and the actual install source is going to be totally up to you. Basically, if you have the actual MSI hosted online, you can just enter the actual URL, or if this is stored on your server, you can also just specify you just need to specify the actual source from here. Definitely you can use any source, even if it's online, like a free source application that you want to deploy. And as far as scripting the actual command line, all you need to do is to click on read more so you can learn about command line options. Now there's another way of deploying, and that's by using the procedure section. Now I'm thinking this is what you're referring to when you ask how to create custom scripts to install MSIs. And yes, we do have scripting capabilities within the procedures and monitor section, by the way. So if we go to procedures, you can create your own custom procedures by clicking on create a script. Now the script will be Python based. It's a Python based procedure. So if you're well versed with Python, you can go ahead and create your own custom script. Now, if you are having difficulties writing your own Python scripts, you have a portal, scripts.itarian.com. Let me just refresh this page real quickly. There we go. Now here you have more than 900 additional scripts available for custom procedures and custom monitors that you may want to implement on your ITarian platform. Now, let's say you are having difficulties writing your own script. You can also request for a new script to be written for you and have those submitted directly to our development team free of charge. So that's a very good option right there. I definitely suggest you visit this page, bookmark it. Definitely very useful. So that's our scripting resource right there. Okay, now let's go back to that question, how to set up profile with Komodo Endpoint security. Now, we do have a few best practices when it comes to profiles and profile creation. Now, again, this is a very broad topic because there are several sections on the profile that we will need to touch base on for us to have a nice, complete discussion regarding profile creation or profile configuration for the security for the advanced endpoint protection system. Now, generally, one of the most important sections for the profile would be the containment. Why is that? Now, the containment system is the biggest differentiator that basically makes our security solution different from everybody else's. All right, and included within that containment system is machine learning. So let's go through that. So once you go to a profile, you will have the containment right here. So let's go to the containment section. Now, the first thing that we normally do, especially if we are doing a POC with one of our partners who will be testing out and deploying the advanced endpoint protection system, is we always suggest to enable baselining. Baselining is basically a way for the containment system to not fully activate yet. Instead, it will learn about the usual executables, usual applications, usual files that would normally run on an endpoint. So, for example, if it sees something that's unknown, again, not whitelisted, not blacklisted, the containment system will then be able to have Valkyrie, which is our cloud-based file verdicting system, take a look onto the file, doing a static and dynamic analysis on it. Basically, static and dynamic analysis is our file verdicting system checking what the file is and what it's trying to do. Now, once baselining is on, you can specify the actual number of days that you would like to do the baselining. What we normally suggest is anywhere from 3 days to a maximum of about a week. So let's do 7 days. So within that 7-day period, the containment will not be containing any applications yet. Instead, it will try to see what files would normally run on the endpoint. It will check if those are already known to be good, known to be bad, and if it's neither between the good and bad files, it will then just submit the hash of those files to Valkyrie to be verdicted, so that once the containment system is already fully activated, it will be able to then just run as it normally would, and it will no longer contain files that have already been verdicted to be good files, basically. So that's one. And another thing that we would normally suggest is, since we're talking about file verdicting, what we normally suggest is to enable auto whitelisting, so that once an unknown file is seen and it's been verdicted to be safe to run on your endpoint, for those files to no longer run in containment next time that an endpoint sees that file. And lastly, generally speaking, it's usually the case that the less interaction the end users have with the security, the less risks there are on the endpoint. So we do have client access control. So if you don't see client access control on the profile section, you can click on Add Profile section, and here you basically have a way to protect the configuration of security and the communication client as well. So from here, all you need to do is to specify what kind of password protection you want to put in to those clients. If your end users do not have any admin rights, you can just require admin credentials. Or let's say you have end users with admin credentials, but you don't want them to be able to reconfigure security just by logging in with their admin credentials, you can also set a custom password as well. Now also, this extra option right here, enable local user to override profile section, as long as you don't check this option, that would basically mean that if they were somehow able to change the actual profile configuration, the moment that the server communicates with the agent on the devices and it sees that there were changes, it will just revert back to the profile that you've set for those devices anyway. So this is a very important section that basically deals with security. Now, of course, there's a lot more to talk about. There's a lot of content just with the profile section itself. And again, if you would like to have a more in-depth discussion regarding the profile section, we can definitely schedule a one-on-one demo or one-on-one training session with one of our consultant engineers. All right. Now, the next question right here. What is your recommendation for making different service monitors, but keeping the different requirements of customers separate? And that's another broad question right there. And it basically is dependent on, one, what devices will you be monitoring? Are you monitoring a server? Are you monitoring a regular endpoint? Because different devices would have different needs. And of course, what would be the actual customer's needs as well. So now, luckily, the Endpoint Manager is a very granular, very flexible system. Now, what we normally suggest is for you to create a different set of profile depending on the customer's need. So for example, let's say you have just a generic profile that you can assign to all of your customers, you can do that. Now, of course, if you have, let's say you have 2 different customers and there are 2 different set of services that they want you to monitor, you can create specific profiles per customer. So let's go back to that clone test profile from earlier. So let's go to the monitor. Now, specifically, this question is regarding service monitors, or the different services running on an endpoint. And yes, we do have that. We have service monitors. Now, again, this is pretty much dependent on the customer's needs, and of course the actual devices that you will be monitoring the services for. Now, as for the service name, it is the actual executable name that you will need to enter. So for example, if you will be monitoring the print spooler, you can enter spooler.exe, if I'm not mistaken. Now, you can enter the condition. You can get notified if either a service is running or not running, again, totally depending on what you need the monitor for. So let's say for this one, is you want to get notified if the print spooler is not running, and I can click on create and click on save. And once I save that, I can just go back to the profile and add this monitor. Oh, it's already there. What I know. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so you can have multiple monitors set on a specific profile. Now, once you have all the monitors that you would need for that specific customers, you can just either go to your device list, and you have from the device list 2 options on assigning those profiles to your devices. You can go as granular as selecting the individual devices, like so, and clicking on Manage Profile. Now again, it may be tedious if you have a couple of hundred devices that you would need to set up monitors for. So for that, if you go back to the device list, you also have right here on top group management instead of device management. So from here, you can set the profiles on a group level. Let's pick a nice group here with 3 devices. I can just click on Manage Profile, add a profile that I want, and that would be the test Windows profile right here. So those are just a couple of ways. Now, of course, it may also be easier for you if you know which users the actual devices are assigned to as their owners. You can also assign those profiles per user. So for example, for this user, we have 6 devices. I can just select that user, and if I want to have a set of monitors, service monitors, set for all the devices under that one user, I can do it from here as well. There you go. So that's basically my recommendation right there. It's, again, the service monitors would be totally dependent on the customer's needs. But if you want flexibility on how to assign those profiles and those monitors onto your devices, this is a very flexible, very granular system that you can just specify what set of devices or individual devices, if you want, to assign the profiles to, and you have the capability to do so. And I guess that is all the questions that I have right here. Again, if you have any questions for today's demo, we have a live Q&A with Ezekiel. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Gerald. And as Gerald said, we're going to move on now to the next stage of the technical webinar. And we are actually going to discuss first there was a question about the UDP ports, of what are the UDP ports that need to be opened up on the firewall when using the remote access. So I guess he's talking about the port numbers and IP addresses that needs to be open when using the remote access tool. So with regards to that, we have to get it in the help site. So we have this in the help.komodo.com, and then you can just search for the word IPs. And this is actually not just showing the IP addresses and port numbers for the remote access, but it also shows for different services like the communication client, the enrollment, monitoring and alerts, and so on. So we're looking for the remote access. Let me just search for it here real quick. There you go. For the remote control, these are the port numbers, IP addresses, and protocols that needs to be open. All right. So again, you can just go to help.komodo.com and then search for the keyword IPS, and it's going to bring you to this page. All right. Next question I have here is, if I have 2 accounts, one Komodo and the other ITarian, can I take a client who already has the communication client, but for my portal A and I want to put them on B? Can I change the credentials, or do I have to uninstall and reinstall with a different link? So yeah, unfortunately, you will have to uninstall and reinstall the agent that you have installed from client A to client B. So Yeah, it's very simple, same procedure. You just have to open up your Endpoint Manager and then get the enrollment link. But this time you have to make sure that it is assigned to a different, or I mean to the correct customer. All right, and then once it's uninstalled and then you install the agent, you should be able to see the device in here. Okay, but you have to do it on the other portal instead. So if you're like moving from the ITarian, or I mean moving out from Komodo and going to ITarian, then you have to generate the enrollment link from the ITarian and then install it to your machines. Okay. Next is having trouble with renaming a Windows computer and the agent updating the dashboard. So, so since we're already on the device list, if let's say we click this one device in here, and then we go to the device name, by default, this is actually auto renaming the device based on its local computer name. All right, so that's why every time you change something in here, it brings back the local computer name. Now, if you want to make a custom device name, you have to make sure that this is unchecked. All right, so let me try to check another device here. For instance, this one, device name, and there you go. As you can see, it is enabled. Now, if I change this to something, new device name, this is not going to affect the local computer name, by the way. This is just for viewing purposes here in the portal. So there's no problem with that, with changing the names and stuff. Um, but that option below, the allow auto rename, is just going to bring back the local computer name if we keep or if we leave this enabled. In a few seconds, it will actually go back to its computer name. Um, Yes, you can see here in the summary, it shows the local computer name still under the name field, and then there's also a separate field for custom device name. So you really don't have to worry about if we're changing names here in the portal and changing the names locally. Right. Sometimes it takes a few minutes before it reverts back to its original computer name, but that's what's really going to happen. All right. So yeah, maybe that's what's happening. That's why it keeps on coming back, and it's like not updating the dashboard. So moving on to the next question, will that monitor only work with the Komodo security, or will it work with Windows Defender or Windows Security Center? I think he's referring to the one that Gerald was discussing earlier. Let me just go back to the monitoring. So yeah, to answer the question, yes, it only works with Komodo Security because we're like an exclusive distributor of Komodo, and we have special access to its functionalities. That's why we can actually monitor those features. Like for example, if something has been detected via containment, via antivirus, you know. But the monitoring itself, the monitoring feature is not only for the Komodo client security. It works under the Komodo communication client. All right, meaning the entire endpoint manager thing. Okay, so for example, RAM monitoring. So you don't really need to have a Komodo client security in order to monitor the RAM or in order to monitor the performance. All right. So just to remove the confusion right there, again, the monitoring feature, the entire monitoring feature does not rely on Komodo client security. Just this security events and security client events. So yeah. So again, to answer the question short, this feature, the monitoring of security events and security client events, is specifically for Komodo client security. It doesn't work with Windows Defender and Windows Security Center. Next question is, how do I deal with containment on web apps? I think this is part of the next question. WebEx was blocked from Microsoft. It came from the same person. So yeah, so if it's WebEx that is being blocked and it's signed by Microsoft, um, we have to make an exclusion here in the profile. So let's pull up this demo security level 2, and then we go to the containment section. All right. So just for everyone's awareness, containment is part of the Komodo client security features. It's an additional security feature that will basically contain the unknown file. So we have 7 layers of security in that security application, and anything that is not recognized by other 6 layers will be contained. Basically, will run virtually. Okay, so now to make an exclusion for this instance, like WebEx, then we have to go to the rules, add rule, and then we can ignore so that we can allow this application to run. And then we can click on the criteria, and then we can type uh, either a file. So we can just have to specify the file path in here, file groups, folder, file hash, process hash. So file groups, by the way, just to discuss this quickly, this is like variables. So this file group variable is under the system templates. So the reason why I'm discussing this is because this is uh, very easy to use, and you can apply this to different layers of Komodo client security. So, like for example, in my Komodo client security demos, I usually show how the cryptic and WannaCry malware works. All right, so I have to make exclusions for other layers so that it goes to the containment. Now, what I do is I already make these templates or like variables so that when I go to the antivirus section, I can just call on the malware variable, and then it will ignore the cryptic, WannaCry, and anything that I actually list down here. Okay, so let me just show you how that works. So enable for me to go to the containment, I'm going to have to uh, create an exclusion in the antivirus layer. Okay, because antivirus is the very first layer of defense of Komodo client security. Now I'm gonna have to make an exclusion here. Click, sorry, I have to go to the groups, click add. Oh, I already have that in there. So yeah, that's just basically how you can do it. So if you are going to create your whitelist for the containment, right now the question is just about WebEx. But if we have more applications that we want to whitelist in the containment, just so you don't have to do it numerous times, you can just, create a variable, update your variable, make your list of the things that you want to be whitelisted in containment, and then that's it. Okay, and every time you update this, it will also automatically update the profile sections where this variable is applied. So imagine if you have make exclusion for containment and antivirus both at the same time. Whenever you add something or a file path in here, it will automatically whitelist the files in the antivirus layer and into the containment. You don't have to go to each one of them. Okay. So yeah, that's for the variable and how to basically create a whitelist for the containment. Next is not sure if there will be time to answer this, but is an APN still necessary for managing iOS devices? I've installed the Komodo profile, but the run after install icon never shows up. So yeah, we still need to set up the APN certificate. To do that, you have to go to the settings, portal setup, and then we go to the client settings, Mac OS/iOS, and then this is where you have to set up your APN. Okay. This APN certificate is required if you're going to enroll Mac OS and iOS devices. All right. But this is not actually required to you are not required to do this every time you install something or you enroll something. This is just only required once. Once you have it there, you can enroll as many Apple devices as you want. All right. So with regards to the run after install, yeah, that's the reason why it's not showing up. You have to set up the APN certificate first. So what I suggest is you uninstall the iOS profile that you initially installed, and then set up your APN certificate. As soon as you have your APN certificate, recreate your enrollment agent, because what's happening there is the enrollment agent that you generated doesn't have a certificate attached to it. So you have to remove the one that you installed. You set up the APN certificate, generate a new one, and then download this. All right. Um, okay, so next is relating to the question about run a procedure on monitor trigger. When I select a procedure, it says there is no parameter defined for this procedure. What could be possible parameters? So I think what's happening there is, let me just open the procedure first. And let me open this in another tab, because this is actually connected. In the monitors, what's happening to him is that he's trying to run a procedure when something is triggered in the monitoring. So let's say if you are monitoring the performance, let's say you're monitoring the CPU usage, that if it reaches 100% for 5 minutes, then you will get a notification. So apart from the notification, you can also get, or you can also run a procedure. So it will take some action. Okay. So whenever he types something in here, like for example, cleanup, is getting an error. There is no parameter defined for this procedure. So what's happening there is, let me try to save this first. Yeah, so what's happening there is it detects that this cleanup, let me just pull that up, cleanup. It refers to the parameter. Actually, I cannot edit this one because this is a predefined procedure. So what I have to do is I'm going to have to clone it, just to show what's the content of this procedure. Okay, so I just made the clone copy. Now I have the edit option and it shows the parameter option. So what happens there is it detects that this procedure doesn't have a parameter. And it doesn't really mean that it's going to make any problems in the future. So you can just leave it like that, just like what happened right now. I'm able to save it, and I can see that the system cleanup procedure will kick in as soon as this condition has been met. All right. So there's actually no problem with that, but it's just detecting that there's no parameter set for this particular script. Okay, and since I'm already in the script discussion, I'm going to run over this a little bit. Just the most important things that you have to make sure that you're doing it right. So for instance, this one that I just created, this is something that I cannot run to my devices right away. So let me just open the device and then try to search for that cloned system cleanup. All right, so let me try this device here, click run procedure. So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to run this newly created procedure to one of my device. The name is cloned run system cleanup script. Actually, there's no. Sorry. Let me just get back to that. And let me try to create a new one here. Test. Okay, so what happened here is it automatically detected the run system cleanup because it was cloned from a predefined script. So it will actually see the one that I just created. But right now I created a new one, which is a test procedure. But if I look at that procedure in here, let me just refresh the entire page. Because since we're talking about scripts here, we cannot just let everyone upload their script. You know, it can be a malicious script, so that's why we need to have some kind of approval. Now, going back to the device list, if I click on procedure, search for the test script, I'm not going to be able to see that. All right. I have a test third-party patch, but that's different because if we create a new procedure, there's three types of procedure right there actually. There's a script, there's patch, and there's a third-party patch. So it refers to this one, all right? But I'm currently creating a script procedure, okay? So now it should only show test and then script. You will see that after I actually approve this. Now, what you have to do as soon as you make your own script procedure, you have to click ready to review, click approve, and this approve button is available for me because I'm actually the account admin of this account. So if you have like roles, you can, you know, restrict someone to not to approve this. All right. So going back now, if I refresh this page, the device list, and then I try to rerun that script. Um, Click run procedure and then test. There you go. You will see now the script that I just created because um, this has already been approved. So again, there, if you are going to write your own script and you want this to run to your machines or you want to schedule it, you have to make sure that this is approved first. Okay, so yeah, and also in addition to that, um, we have a script library just to reiterate this one. So we have scripts.itarian.com. It's a script library, a massive list of our scripts. You can just check this out, and then you can also request your own script. All right. Next, let's move on to the next question now. How do you set up AV exclusions for programs such as QuickBooks? Actually, I just showed that earlier when I answered the question about WebEx, so it's kind of similar. But let me just run over it quickly. So under the profiles, the only difference is that we're going into the antivirus this time, not into the containment. Though it's actually part of my example earlier. It's actually just here, antivirus. You make your exclusion. Exclusions, and there's the 3 tabs under the exclusions. We have excluded path, excluded applications, and then excluded groups. So groups refers to the variable that I showed earlier. Applications refers to the actual application, so it must end with the executable file. And then excluded path refers to, it could be a folder. You can use wildcards to have a flexible way of identifying the location. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much for the antivirus. Very straightforward. Next, how do you tell Valkyrie that the file is not a malware? All right, so when it comes to Valkyrie, there's actually no way we can make an exclusion. But what we can do is, under the security subsystems, we have this section we call application control. So this lists down all of the applications that has been detected from your endpoints, whether it's good or whether it's a good, bad, or unknown file. Okay, whichever state of the file that is, it will be posted in here. Now, if there is a file that has been detected by Valkyrie as a malware and you don't want it to be blocked, what you can do is, let me just look for a malware here. Okay, so we have one, Cryptic. This is one of the malware that I'm showing when I'm doing the Komodo client security demo. So it is a truly malicious file. But what you can do, if this is, for example, a file that you really trust, if it's a homegrown application but identified by Valkyrie as a malware, you can change the rating of the file and then rate it as a trusted file. So you can see here we have 2 columns, Komodo rating and admin rating. Komodo rating refers to the decision of Valkyrie, and admin rating refers to the decision of you, the admin, whoever's logged in here. Now, if I change this right now as trusted, it's going to just change the admin rating. It will still keep the Komodo rating because this is what's in the cloud. And the admin rating supersedes the decision of the Komodo rating. So if admin rating says trusted, it will trust the file. All right, and this will be applied to all of your managed devices. All right, though not globally, I mean not to every users of ITarian, but this will affect all of your managed devices. Okay, so that way it's like you're whitelisting this. Okay, so let me just bring it back to malicious file before it makes anything bad in my virtual machine. Anyway, so that's actually pretty much everything for now. We really do appreciate your time attending this webinar session, and we hope to see you again next time. For those questions that was not answered, we will have our representatives call you, and then you can schedule a demo with our consultant engineers for a one-on-one live demo. All right. Again, thanks so much, guys, and see you again next time.